Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And yeah, so like a freebie video. I wanted to address the whole thing with Fuchsia and Android, as there's just a lot of things being tossed around regarding Fuchsia. So I just kind of wanted to clear this up. So we've already seen an evolutionary step in Fuchsia, it being put on older generation Nest Hub. So the first generation, originally called the Google Home Hub, that's now referred to as the Google Nest Hub, actually runs Fuchsia. So because of that decision, I think it had a lot of people wondering, like, is Fuchsia going to replace Android? Like, is this it? Is Android gone? Is Chrome OS gone? And at this time, no. I don't see Google replacing Android or Chrome OS definitively at this time. Maybe down the road in the future, but not anytime soon. We are seeing Google make big changes, and this is probably one of the bigger signs of what Fuchsia is going to do in the future. For the simple fact is that Google is already putting their own Tensor chip within the Google Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. So we know that Google's now going to in-house build their own system on a chip. Now, what is Fuchsia? I mean, we keep making videos on it, and a lot of things get lost in the process of providing this information, right? But what is the core essence of Fuchsia? And the core essence of Fuchsia is built on little kernel, which is also known as Zircon, which is considered a microkernel. So this is an entirely different kernel. It's not based on Linux. It has no ties to Unix. It is built from the ground up. Fuchsia tends to be the operating system that the Zircon kernel controls, right? For processes and things of that nature. Now, the idea of Fuchsia is very similar to how we describe Android, but on a much higher scale, right? So today we have stock Android, which you find on Google Pixel phones and Motorola, and slightly on OnePlus devices with Oxygen OS. However, Oxygen OS is pretty much what it is an operating system itself, right? One UI is an operating system itself. The idea of Fuchsia is for Fuchsia to be the operating system no matter what. The idea how we kind of describe Android as a layer cake of things, and basically say that Android is the cake itself and one UI is icing on top, is not really so, because Android is open sourced. Samsung pretty much gets the source code files for Android, and they build one UI, right? So it is an operating system in itself, and then it's put on top of the Linux kernel, thus going forward. Fuchsia will be the operating system, and technically one UI would be that light user interface that's on top of Fuchsia. And the reason why Google is invested into this is because it makes it easier for them to push out an OS update to all these devices that run Fuchsia, and limit and reduce the amount of fragmentation that we have on that side of things. Because today people will take to Twitter, they'll take to YouTube videos, and they'll be upset. They'll be like, well, why isn't my phone getting Android 12? It's perfectly capable of getting Android 12, but why is it not getting Android 12? And it is for that very reason. It's very much for that reason that you cannot you cannot really force Samsung to build Android 12 for all of its devices that it currently has out right now. You can't, right? But if Google had that control to push out those updates, kind of bypassing Samsung, then that will give people, a software update that they don't have to rely on Samsung to put out, if that makes any sense to anybody. In total, the idea of Fuchsia being locked down, from what I've seen already by going into GitHub and going into source code files and kind of just scratching around inside there, seems to be that Fuchsia is open source. It is open source. As a matter of fact, developers can actually get code for Fuchsia to kind of tinker around with it. It is not full-fledged right now. It's on the Nest Hub. Originally, from what we've seen from the source code files of Fuchsia, is that initially it was intended to be an operating system for IoTs, and that was pretty much it. But it can run on smartphones, it can run on tablets, it can run on Pixel books and Chromebooks, it can run on those things. And so it could be a unification of all the different hardware being able to use the exact same software and play very well integrated together. The idea is that's what Fuchsia is. Now there's a whole thing. I'm going to address this. The whole thing of, it is going to replace Android, and they're doing it because they want to monitor everybody. Okay. I don't know where people see this thing going and what has them in that state of mind. But your operating system known as Android and your operating system known as iOS is already capable of doing that. It's already capable of monitoring and logging what you do on your smartphone on a day-to-day basis. Just because they don't hold up a white flag that says, hey, we're watching you and we've logged in all your data, doesn't mean that they're not doing it. So the initial statements being put out that Fuchsia is coming because government control, they already have that in place. Facebook controls people, Instagram controls people already as it is. There's people who can't get through an entire day without even going on these social platforms. So, and government watches these things, right? They play hand in hand with Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey from Twitter and everything like that. We know this already. So I don't think the fear put into Fuchsia is a big highlight, but it's already being done right now, to be honest with people. So, I just kind of want to point that fact out. However, we are still a long ways away from Fuchsia initially, just taking over and basically becoming Android. And I don't see it happening anytime soon, only because Android is so big. You really wouldn't get that many people to kind of like jump over to it. If you kind of think about it like with Google, right? Like Google wanted to step into the MVNO market, so Google Fi came, right? And you would think that, if Google had this way of persuading people to use, its services, it would be able to have people go over and switch from the carrier to Google Fi, like especially diehard Android fans. And that's not even the case. Diehard Android fans don't switch to Google Fi just because it's Google. They still use AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. They still tend to use those carriers. So it doesn't matter if Google goes out and says Fuchsia is going to be 100 times faster, because it actually is. Okay, this microkernel that they built, that's the core of Fuchsia. This microkernel they built is extremely fast compared to Linux. And they're saying it's faster than comparing it to Unix. Just because Google says that Fuchsia is faster doesn't mean that people are going to take to it right away. So anyways, guys, that's the morning cup of coffee. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Smash the like button if you guys enjoy these, and I'll do more of these when I can. But until then, thanks for watching. As always, aloha.